Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
A South Yorkshire college is evacuated and 6 arrests are made after a brawl breaks out.
Dozens of police officers, some of whom appeared to be armed, descended on Doncaster College and a knife was taken from the scene.
We'll be hearing more from our reporter Lisa Adlam shortly, but also on calendar tonight. The abuse survivor who's calling for tougher rules after learning her attacker was due to be released near her home.
As survivors, we should be able to live our lives in peace. Why should it be survivors that have to feel that they have to move house, to sell their homes, to feel safe?
The fight against fly tipping. What's being done to tackle the issue blighting our region?
And can we do another day of dry, fine conditions with reasonably warm temperatures? All the detail a little later on.
So, first this evening to a huge police response at a South Yorkshire college after a brawl broke out just after lunchtime.
Doncaster College was evacuated following the incident and a knife was recovered from the scene. 6 arrests have been made.
Well, our reporter Lisa Adlam is live for us there this evening. And Lisa, things have calmed down now, but what do we know about what happened earlier?
Well, Ian, as you say, within the last hour, South Yorkshire Police have revealed that 6 people were arrested here earlier today after they were called to reports of a brawl between a group of men at around 12:30 and that a knife was also found. It was a major response. It included what appeared to be armed officers, and we're told that 4 males were quickly detained. The building was evacuated. We saw scores of staff and students leaving and gathering outside on the concourse as the searches were being carried out, and it was then that the knife was found, and that led to a further 2 arrests. We're also told that 1 person suffered a minor injury to their hand. Those 6 males, who are aged between 21 and 17, are now all in custody tonight on suspicion of a number of offences, which include possession of a weapon, a fray and intent to supply Class A and Class B drugs.
It certainly looks very dramatic there, or it certainly did earlier. What does the college have to say, Lisa?
Well, the college hasn't said a great deal, obviously concentrating on the safety of their staff and students, but they have been quick to say that everyone was safe. They've been quick to send that message to parents and carers, and they say that they are being supported by police. Meanwhile, officers, we're told, will be staying in the area this evening as their investigations continue and to provide reassurance over what has clearly been a deeply alarming incident.
Lisa Adlam, thank you very much for that update live from Doncaster College. OK, of course, you can see all the latest developments on this story, and we will keep you updated on our late bulletin tonight as well. On our website, you can find us there on itv.com/calendar. That is itv.com/calendar.
Next tonight to the woman who says she was horrified to learn the man who sexually assaulted her would be allowed to move back to his home near her when he's released from jail.
Suzanne Thompson, who's from Caton near Scarborough, has had her case raised in Parliament, and now an exclusion zone is expected to be put in place.
Well, in a bid to call for tougher measures that stop other victims being put in the same position as her, Suzanne's allowed her identity to be revealed and shared her story for the first time. Katie Cole has more.
This is me when I was about 10 years old.
A school photo of Suzanne Thompson, taken around the time she was being sexually abused. As a family friend drove her to badminton lessons, he was assaulting her. It was almost 40 years later, after raising her own family, did she feel able to report it. And in 2019, he was jailed for 11 years.
Such a great relief knowing he was in prison and I could just live my life. And so I've had 5 years of peace, of tranquility, knowing I can just walk the streets, walk the village, go into town and not live in fear that I'm going to bump into him.
The man responsible was David Myers, who is now in his 70s. Before going to jail, he lived just 2 streets away from Suzanne, in a village near Scarborough. He is due for release on licence this summer, and in November, Suzanne was told, although he can't contact her, a request for a 5-mile exclusion zone preventing him from returning home had been rejected by the parole board.
There became a smaller exclusion zone, which only really covered a very small area. It did include my home, but his home is only 2 streets away, so it basically cut the village in half. I got one side and he got the other. And that just seemed really unfair. And when I talked to my victim liaison officer, she said, the only thing you can do is put in a complaint. And I said, right, who do I complain to? And she says, your MP.
Suzanne's MP wrote to the parole board asking for the decision to be reversed, and on International Women's Day raised her case in Parliament.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I ask why a man who has abused a child in their close neighbourhood should be allowed to return to live just a few streets away. It goes beyond where the perpetrators are seen as a risk. It continues the suffering of women and girls who have suffered abuse.
I was nervous when she first said that it was she was going to bring it up in Parliament. It made it more real, and I was actually more empowered because I knew I had someone on my side.
And following her case being made public, Suzanne has now been told a 10-mile exclusion zone is likely to be approved. But she says it should never have come to this.
Although I now have that reassurance from the probation team that he won't be coming back and they are fighting my battle, it still has to go through the parole board. There's still that chance that he could move back. And that's, to me, it's wrong. We should, as survivors, we should be able to live our lives in peace. Why should it be survivors that have to feel that they have to move house, to sell their homes, to feel safe?
Today, the Ministry of Justice said victims must feel safe, which is why offenders released on licence must follow strict conditions, such as curfews and exclusion zones, that prevent them approaching their victims. They face going back to prison if they break the rules. Suzanne is now hopeful her attacker won't be allowed to move back into eyesight of her home. But she describes the battle to get to this point as stressful and unnecessary, and hopes by speaking out it can bring about change for others. Katie Cole, ITV News, near Scarborough.
Let's have a look at more stories from around the region now. And the former sub-postmaster Lee Castleton, who's from Scarborough, has launched legal action against the post office and Fujitsu. He ended up bankrupt after being falsely accused of stealing £25,000 as part of the Horizon scandal, and was one of the most high-profile cases highlighted during the ITV drama Mr Bates versus the Post Office. Mr Castleton is seeking damages and is the first individual to sue over the scandal. The Post Office says it's committed to doing all it can to help those affected get closure.
Mr Castleton is doing this for public vindication as much as he's doing it for any other reason. And he wants to show the rest of the sub-postmaster group that you can take on the post office and you can successfully argue your cause.
The High Street Bank Santander has announced it will be closing 95 of its UK branches as part of an overhaul, including 3 in our region. The branches in Ilkley, Morley and Pudsey are to shut. Across the UK, 750 jobs are at risk. Santander says it will be left with 349 locations after the sweeping changes.
Next, there are calls for urgent action to address a looming crisis in Sheffield of where the city can bury its dead. Several of the City Council's cemeteries are full, with enough space left for around 8 more years of burials.
But that situation worsens for those from the Muslim faith, with just 3 years of capacity left at the city's cemeteries. Now the council says it's working to find new burial sites. Martin Fisher has the story.
Sheffield's cemeteries are getting full. 6 out of the city's 16 sites have no further capacity, with what remains filling up fast. For Mohammed Ali from the Federation of Mosques, it's a problem his family recognised some time ago, buying plots here at Shire Green Cemetery.
The space is depleting, that we wanted to make sure that our loved ones, those who pass away at a difficult time, so there was graves and plots that was available.
Muslim burials have to take place as quickly as possible, so the pressure to find new sites is mounting. It's an issue that first began to be seen following the spike in deaths during the pandemic.
At the COVID time, there was a number of deaths happening, because if all these graveyards fill up so quick, what's going to happen? The provisions what should have been provided many years ago, unfortunately they haven't done. But having said that, they've started acting now.
After a petition with over 7,000 signatures was handed into Sheffield Council in December, the authority has now identified 8 potential new sites, but haven't made it clear where these would be.
Now, Sheffield hasn't opened a new cemetery since the 1950s, but finding new land isn't easy. It's expensive and there are other demands on it, such as housing. But the situation has now become so acute that Sheffield City Council has had to act.
In a statement, they said, "We are working to ensure there is a dignified, inclusive and accessible offering for all of Sheffield's communities. Our work to identify new burial sites is informed by close communication with residents." But any new sites will take time to prepare, something that South Yorkshire Muslim Bereavement Trust is only too aware of.
You've got to get everything prepared, you've got to get your roads done, you've got to get your water on site, and what have you. So it's amazing. 3 years isn't a long time.
Around 800 burials take place in Sheffield each year, where loved ones will be laid to rest in the future, still very much up in the air. Martin Fisher, ITV News.
You're watching ITV Calendar. Still to come on the programme this evening.
Join me and these young footballers later in the programme to hear how they've been improvising after thieves stole their goalposts.
And after that early frost this morning, plenty of blue sky across most parts of the region. Just some whispery, non-rain-bearing cirrus around this afternoon. All the detail for the next few days a little later on.
See you in a few minutes. Kerry, thank you. Now then, we've all seen it, haven't we? The blight of fly tipping in the countryside and on the streets of our cities. The latest figures show almost 90,000 incidents in the past year in Yorkshire and the Humber, with more than 1 million nationwide.
Yes, and despite huge efforts to combat the illegal dumping of rubbish, the problem continues and it affects the environment, public health and the economy. So, do we need tougher laws? Chloe Oliver reports.
Our countryside is being suffocated under piles of dumped rubbish. This fly tip was so big, authorities had to close the rural road.
Well, they've been here probably a couple of hours, I suggest, to clear this, because again, one of the issues you've got here is access.
I've spent the day with this waste crime team who respond to fly tipping. They say it's an organised crime on a county line scale.
The mechanism here would be that someone would drive along, usually in a sort of flatbed tipper van, slow right down, put the tipper bed up, and then carry on driving, putting all of the waste into the middle of the carriageway, and then they'll just drive off.
Calderdale Council is ramping up efforts to combat this illegal activity.
This issue here is not about general population taking things to the tips. This is about organised crime.
It costs Calderdale Council up to £750,000 to £1 million a year on this all in. So every taxpayer in the borough is paying for this. And it's not just the monetary fact, it's the fact that people have to look at this, walk through this, a little child walking through, and it's like this is normalised for them.
In the last year, here in Yorkshire and the Humber, there's been around 86,000 incidents of fly tipping, with around 23,000 of those on our roads. It's cost local authorities in the region at least £440,000 in lorry load removals, and that's not including the cost of smaller vehicle loads, which there were thousands of. getting a new perspective on the problem. Technology like this drone allows local authorities to access fly tips in rural or impassable areas and assess how best to deal with it.
When household recycling centres were charging for the disposal of waste, I think that may have pushed people to fly tip. I think because of the cost of disposal of waste is expensive.
The Environment Agency is calling for urgent action.
It disrupts local communities, it can block roads, it's very unsightly and is a really serious form of antisocial behaviour. A lot of people have infiltrated the industry who are involved in other kinds of crime as well. These aren't just one-off sporadic incidents where people are making a small amount of money. There's a lot of money to be made from waste crime.
The government told me the current system isn't fit for purpose and they're looking to make changes. But from urban alleyways to rural roadsides, we can all do our bit by checking waste clearance companies we use have a licence and reporting any fly tips to the local council. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Some awful pictures there.
It's a horrible problem, actually, isn't it?
It's not nice, is it? No. Next, a man whose life was saved by blood donations is urging anyone who can give blood to do it. Joe Gilbert believes that he only survived a horrendous climbing accident because of the kindness of blood donors.
Well, Joe's message comes as the NHS says its blood stocks are now critically low, with more than 4,000 donations a day needed just to meet the needs of our hospitals. Chris Conway reports.
It was a climbing accident in 2016 that almost cost Joe his life.
I broke my neck, most of my ribs, I dislocated my ankle, I punctured a lung, I also broke my hand, my shoulder, my collarbone.
Multiple operations and at least 2 blood transfusions followed, eventually putting Joe on the road to recovery and now able to get back out cycling again.
If you give blood, you are saving someone's life, or at the very least you are helping them through what is probably the worst day of their life. And it's just the most incredible gift that you can give, and it's so selfless because you'll never know that person, you'll never know where that blood goes to, but it is going to make such a difference to somebody.
Joe's story comes as the NHS currently faces low blood stocks, with thousands of appointments available at local donation centres. The NHS says it needs 3 blood donations every minute to handle emergencies, childbirth and critical treatments. Almost 4,500 donations are needed each day just to meet the demands of hospitals, while just under 150,000 new donors are needed every year to meet patient needs now and in the future. That demand why these blood donors in Sheffield have come forward.
Well, I'm a regular blood donor. I've been coming for a few years. But strangely enough, it's been a weird week this week. My dad's been in a hospital in Spain, in Malaga, and he had to have a blood transfusion a couple of nights ago. So if anything, I was going to make sure I came today.
Well, I know blood stocks can get low, and people always need transfusions. So while I can give out, I may as well just carry on and keep doing it while I can do.
Donor centres like this one are working to rebuild supplies after a busy start to the year, with hospital demand for blood exceeding donations by 3,000 units.
Our blood stocks are quite low at the moment. Our donors have responded really well to that, and they have been coming in to donate, but we just need to keep that momentum going. We're coming up to the Easter period where appointments do drop.
How important is it that the public get out and donate?
We always need a supply of it to actually keep the NHS running. You would have to look at maybe cancelling routine operations, and then you've got the people who need regular blood transfusions every week to survive.
A timely reminder of the pressure facing the NHS's blood supply as they work to recruit more donors. As Joe discovered on that fateful afternoon 9 years ago, you never know quite when you might need it. Chris Conway, ITV News.
Yes, it really is the gift of life, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
So easy to do as well.
So true what he says there. You know, you just never know when you might need it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now then, Kerry's here.
Hi.
What a lovely day again, Kerry.
Oh, we're doing well this week,
Thank
aren't
you.
we?
Are you responsible for this?
Of course I am. I'll take the praise when the weather's good.
Yeah.
We did see a little bit of cloud coming through just over the last hour, just before sunset, but not spoiling the scene in Sheffield. Looking across Sheffield there, big thank you to John for the shot. But I wanted to show you these photographs, which I think pretty much sum up this time of the year. Look at the shade. The frost is there still first thing in the morning, but the sunshine soon getting to work around Sandal Castle, and you can see it here where you can just see the shadow of the castle, still all frosty, but elsewhere, yes, the March sunshine getting to work. I've talked about it before, the diurnal range. We get it this time of the year. Of course, the winter months keeps the ground really cold, but certainly overnight, our nights are long enough still where we get clear skies and light winds for those temperatures to take a tumble. But as soon as you get the sunshine at work on it, those temperatures whip up. So we had a 19-degree difference from in Topcliffe last night, minus 5.6 it was, and we just were short of 13 degrees this afternoon, and we've reached about 15 actually in some parts of the region this afternoon, so that's respectable. 10 or 11 we'd expect for the time of year. At the coastline tomorrow, where it has been cooler over the last few days, 13, possibly 14 Celsius, but inland we're looking at a 17 or an 18 Celsius, so that is not bad at all, is it? So I'm here for tomorrow's temperatures for sure.
My cats are happy about it, I have to say. Now, I'm a bit confused because although the temperatures can be quite cool as well at this time of the year, you're saying we need to put sun cream on.
Yeah, well, it's nothing to do with the temperature. It's to do with the harmful rays of the sun and then penetrating our skin. There's actually a depletion in the ozone layer at the moment, which just means it's thinner than usual. It's quite typical in spring at times for it to get quite thin. And that means that basically we're more at risk of sunburn. But if you think that our sun is as strong now as it would be in September, we still need to slap on the SPF. So we're looking at 3s and 4s tomorrow, and that is a moderate risk of sunburn across most parts of the region in that sun. So it's nothing to do with the temperature, it's how strong the sun is and how the highest risk of the UV sunburn. But
Really
it's going to
good
feel
tip, because people could get caught out this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, the argument is just put it on all the time. Keep your skin peachy, just pop on the SPF, whether it's winter or summer. Yeah,
thank you.
That's why you've got such nice skin. Lovely.
Now then, to the under-13s football team in Leeds that's been playing without posts after thieves uprooted their goal frames and stole them. Kirkstall Crusaders have been forced to take on teams elsewhere after the theft at their home ground last week.
But a community fundraising campaign has so far generated almost £1,500 to replace them and put their season back on track. Well, our reporter Jonathan Brown signed up to training tonight just along the road. So, Johnny, how are your hamstrings doing?
Well, Ian, I should probably get my excuses in early. I don't think I've actually warmed up properly, but even if I had, I doubt I'd get in this team's first 11. That's because these guys are actually pretty good. Kirkstall Crusaders are currently in contention to win their divisional championships. Having said all that, it is quite hard to score goals when you don't actually have any goalposts. As you can see, they've been removed, so it's jumpers for goalposts tonight. And we've got coach and parent Ryan here with me now to explain how this happened. How did we get here?
So basically the pitch hadn't been used for a month due to heavy rain. The senior team turned up to use the pitch and no goalposts. As you can see, we've got jumpers tonight, and it's still a mystery till today.
And you decided to fundraise. Where did that idea come from?
So fundraising usually happens for the off-season from parents and from the lads, and I just thought £1,500 is a lot to make up, so I'll give them a bit of a head start.
Fantastic. Well, it's going pretty well so far. There's plenty of support off the pitch for Kirkstall Crusaders, and on the sidelines there's usually plenty of support from parents like Phil, who we've got here, who also happens to be the chairman of the club. But this isn't just affecting the under-13s, is it, Phil?
No, it's affecting the male seniors, the women's seniors, under-17s and under-15s.
Yeah, you've got 42 people have donated so far. What does it mean to you and the rest of the club?
This community, they're just amazing. The parents are amazing. The people that live around here, they're just great. Love them all.
Fantastic. Right, OK, well, £1,500 in total just about has been raised, and that's obviously going to be of huge benefit to the players themselves. So I've got a couple of them here. We've got goalkeeper Mikey, and we've got Lincoln as well, who unfortunately is injured. Sorry to hear about that, Lincoln. How does it feel for you then to know that so many people are supporting Kirkstall Crusaders?
It's truly special, the amount of people that have donated and helped fund the goalposts, although it's a shame that they've been nicked.
Absolutely. What do you think to this then? Do you think I'd have a chance of getting in the team if I play well?
Only if you score the pen.
Right, OK. Challenge accepted. Right, go on then, Mikey. Let's score this penalty. I have to say, I've taken 2 penalties in my life and I've missed them both, so what could possibly go wrong? You ready? That would have gone in if it wasn't for those lack of goalposts, I swear, honestly.
Oh, any excuse, Johnny Brown. That was appalling.
It was, but if only they had the goalpost, I'm sure he would have got a top bin, wouldn't he?
Well, I would have thought so, yeah. I mean, what, 5 out of 10 for trying?
Yeah, I suppose so. I really, really hope that those kids do get their goalpost because grassroots football is so important. I know my 2 lads play it and it's just what they live their lives for, so hopefully they can get those goalposts.
I know, and if you've got Kirkstall Crusaders goalposts, can you please take them back?
Yeah, absolutely. OK, we all need a bit of good weather for football, don't we? So let's go to Kerry now for the forecast.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, another decent day across the region today. Plenty of sunshine after that frosty start first thing this morning. Plenty of blue around. Just a little bit of very high, thin cirrus cloud for the afternoon. And you can see that very clearly on today's satellite picture. Maybe not quite as wall-to-wall blue sky as it was yesterday, but pretty much near. Just this little cluster of cloud that will nudge its way slightly northwards during the course of tonight. And we are importing that milder air from a southerly direction. So not a widespread frost expected tonight, but certainly in rural parts of North Yorkshire, the blue indicated on our chart, suggesting sub-zero temperatures away from towns and cities as we head towards dawn. So it's a cold enough start as we head into tomorrow. A glorious beginning looking out towards Emily Moor Mass first thing this morning. A big thank you to Nick. 6:10 and 6:19 are your sun times for tomorrow. So a cold, chilly enough start first thing, but plenty of blue sky once more for tomorrow morning and into the afternoon. Maybe some high cloud, perhaps turning the sunshine hazy, but we're expecting highs of 17, 18 Celsius with light winds. And even at the coast, although a little cooler, still here 4 or 5 degrees above the average for the time of year. We're looking at a frost-free night tomorrow night, and then as we head into Friday, we've got high pressure to the northeast, low pressure to the southwest. That feeds in quite breezy conditions to end the week, but we are still thinking it will be warm and dry and fine. High risk of showers and a cooling off throughout the weekend, but still with some sunny spells in between.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
You know, Kerry, it's all looking very spring-like.
It's funny you should say that because tomorrow is the equinox, so we're all on the same page. Tomorrow is spring.
It's arrived.
I can't believe it already. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. That's it from us. Thanks very much for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 6. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.